a struggle that I'm seeing collectively and individually is we are so caught up in the future and the past. The most valuable thing we have is autonomy, and autonomy operates in presence. And if we're not here in the present moment, which is truly the only thing that really exists, then we've almost lost our autonomy, and we are just a product of our past, of our cycles, of our paradigm, if we don't have the awareness nor the consciousness to detect within ourselves in the present moment the way we feel, the things we think, and our beliefs. It's like dominoes cascading and forever going forward. And, we can believe that we are a product of our environment, which is true, absolutely. But I think that two truths can coexist. And I think not only are we a product of our environment if we let it be that way, but we have the ability to completely change that whole inevitable cascading domino effect of our lives. With awareness in the present moment, we're able to stand tall and not to fall over. This isn't just the case for us individually, but collectively as well. If enough people wake up and bring awareness into their lives and truly live in the present moment and operate from a place of love, then I think that the way of our future, the way of our society can also change for the better. They've done a really good job at taking away our autonomy, not just physically, as the chains and shackles become more obvious by the month, it seems, but psychologically, which is the most dangerous chains and shackles that are present, because you cannot see them. And if you don't have the awareness to see them, they are what binds you and leads you onto your current trajectory of destruction or manipulation. They say anxiety is the future and depression is the past. And if we're forever living in those two systems of past and future, and we're never here in the present moment, then we're denying ourselves our own autonomy. And there's many things put in place to keep us away from this present moment. You may work 8 hours a day just to survive, to put food on the table. And then you'll go home and there'll be a multitude of distractions in the likes that human beings may have we've never seen it like this before. The amount of distractions that are out there, the amount of options, the amount of things that take our mind away from ourselves, and we operate from ego and the desires of this world and what our brain craves rather than what our soul needs for nourishment, which is pure connection, pure awareness, pure love in the present moment, because it's all we've got. One day you'll blink and you'll wake up and you'll be an old man or an old woman, and perhaps you'll look back and realise that you were never truly there. You lived a life, but you never truly lived. You just lived out the time. And the whole time you were stressing about the future. And the fear for the future and anxiety, it had its purpose back in the day when, we needed to eat. So we'd stress about, okay, so we need to eat. And that would switch our brain into fight or flight. It would protect us. It would enable our survival so that we could find food that we could get tonight. Or perhaps there'd be an outside threat, an animal or a tribe that's going to attack us, and anxiety would flare up, put us in fight or flight and protect us. But now that we no longer live in that now that we no longer live in that danger, we've got everything pretty much catered for. We know we can eat. We know it's unlikely that a tribe is going to attack your home tonight and pillage your stuff. But we're still left with this anxiety and this fight or flight. And it can become almost obsessive living in the future, to a point where you're no longer living in the present. You've lost your present awareness and you're always thinking about the next thing. Or you're always externalizing validation, externalizing meaning, externalizing pretty much that everything outside of yourself matters, and the awareness within in the present moment. Many people, I guess, in a sense, don't even know that exists, because they've been so programmed a certain way by the system, because the system runs, it works, and it feeds off of unconsciousness. You can't make money with awareness, but you can make money with fear. You cannot make money with love, true love, giving selfless love, but you can make money with selfishness and ego and the body's needs. We're living in a crazy time. Kali Yuga, as they call it in the Hindu. And there's many different traditions that talk about the different cycles of life that we're in. And it's more evident that we are living in a self-fulfilled, destructive prophecy that stems from the Abrahamic religions, converging to a point where it's inevitable that war, chaos, and many dark things will break out. And I'll touch more on that in the future, talking about the 3 Abrahamic religions and their own individual prophecies, how they collide, how they are inevitably conflict-orientated, and how it's going to reshape the world as we know it, and reshape the minds and cause a existential crisis for human beings in all societies, in the West, in the East, and so forth. But what I really wanted to talk about is letting go of the future and letting go of the past. Because at the end of the day, it is belief that holds you and shackles you to past and future. You are more than free. You are more than allowed to be a new person. The past does not need to define you unless you believe that it does. You woke up this morning, the sun rose. You do not have to be the same man or woman you were yesterday. You do not have to carry the burdens of the things that you've done. You do not have to carry all the weight of what you've done. And sure, there are actions and consequence in this world. I'm not saying that you won't have to pay your karmic debts, if you want to call it that, in whatever way it comes or however long it takes to come, because everything that we do obviously ripples out and comes back to us. But when you change that paradigm, when you let go of the past and take your autonomy into yourself, into your own hands, and you realize that you can be a new person right now, right here. Nothing needs to be perfect. There doesn't need to be perfect things in place. You don't need to externalize validation and have to pray to something else outside of yourself. Right now, you can sit here and you can let go, and you can choose to be a better person and choose to not let the past define who you are. Same thing with the future. You do not need to worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow does not even exist. And we think about tomorrow or our 5-year plan, or we think about what's coming, and we put so much energy into that it takes away our freedom. It makes us a slave. It puts us on a production line of inevitable predictive pattern, if you want to call it that. But you don't need to step onto that treadmill onto that production line like everybody else is, because that will lead them to a inevitable outcome of existential nihilism, destruction, and so forth. In this Great Awakening, we have the choice now, and we always have had it. It's just a matter of realizing, waking up, turning the light on in the mind to where you know that, hey, I can live in this life and be, I can be a self-sufficient man or a woman. I can be autonomous. And it's almost ridiculous, isn't it, when we stress about the future, something that doesn't even exist, and we make all these plans that likely may never even come. And we've got this programmed into us by, what's the weather going to be like this week? And it gives us an outline of what the weather's going to be like. But I'm sure we've all experienced that, even though that weather app you use or the weatherman on the channel tells you it's going to be a certain way, sometimes it doesn't always pan out the way we predicted. Sometimes a storm comes we never saw coming. Sometimes we saw sunshine that comes that we never saw coming. And we try to control the future because we fear the unknown. But the unknown is not supposed to be feared, for we are not separate to the unknown. We're not separate from nature. We're not separate from the cycles. We're not separate from uncertainty. Because there is one thing and there is one universal truth that this world runs on, that nature runs on, and that is uncertainty. Nothing is certain. What if we let go of all the plans, of all the ideas that we have that we think are going to pan out the way we want them to, because we try to shape nature and we try to put it into a box and we try to control it and we try to comfort ourselves knowing that, okay, I've got this that's happening. It's like, what sort of lives would we live if we depleted the past, we let go of who we were, of what happened, we forgave those that wouldn't forgive us, we forgave those that did wrong against us, and we're here in the present moment. We let go of the future, trying to control it, trying to stuff it into a box, it's the magpies.
Wobble, wobble, wobble.
We stop trying to put labels on everything. We stop trying to predict and predict and predict. Because all the time we're doing this with past and future, we are denying ourselves true life. And true life lives here, right now. Right now. In the present moment. That's where love is found. That's where awareness is found. This is where compassion is found. It's something I wanted to talk about. Because I know within myself, I spend most of my time worrying about the future. And they put a label on that. They say it's anxiety. And they feed you with drugs. And they tell you there's something wrong with you and it's brain chemistry and so forth. And I'm not saying that that's not true. And that the physical lives we live does not have a factor on anxiety, of course. Certain things can trigger anxiety within the brain. But I also believe that the very systems that are in place to ease the anxiety are not easing or healing the root of the problem. They're only healing the fruit of the problem. Therefore, the root stays, and the fruit gets ripe and it dies, and it gets ripe and it dies. It's like if you want to cut out of it, if someone gets cancer and gets a tumour, you can cut the tumour out and they may survive. But we are not identifying why that tumour got there in the first place. The root of the problem. And I think an essential root that we need to uproot, and an essential thing that we need to really focus on, is the root of our spiritual selves and the root of our awareness and where we're operating on a day-to-day basis. So if we're here in the present moment, truly, And it's not easy, because I've done it myself, where you're in the present moment and you find yourself just slipping out of it, almost like you're falling back into a dream, because our brains have gotten so used to doing that, because that's how we've been trained. That's how the system works. It's how it feeds, especially collectively. If you get your own autonomy back and you wake up to what's going on, this system fails, because this system feeds off of your unawareness. If that's the right word for it, I'm sure there's a better word. It feeds off of your slumber. What if everybody was in the present moment right now, just bang, and saw everything for how it was, and really let go of their false beliefs, let go of their false perception of what we were taught and the way we think that things are going to go. And I think we would wake up to a very, very different world, a much better one. But that has to start within us first, as an individual, and then as a collective. And this is what the Great Awakening is. It's not a Hollywood movie where everyone wakes up and it's all magical paradise. It is a slow burn, and it's a painful burn. It's not supposed to be easy, because that's what growth is. Growth comes from the dualistic reality that we live in, that in order for there to be growth, there has to be an element of sacrificial pain or something that we have to go through, which is never easy. But that's another false belief we have, is the belief that we are, as humans, everything or things are supposed to be easy for us. And we struggle, because if we believe everything's supposed to be easy, then we're going to be in suffering, because hard things will come, and we're going to be going, well, why is that? And we're going to go into victim mentality, we're going to go into fight or flight, and we're going to be stressing about the future again. So we let go of the idea that things are supposed to be easy, number one, and we let go of the need to control everything in the future, whether it's in your family, in your relationships, in your work life, in your plans. If we just let go and we operate from the moment, the only thing that really exists, which is right now. That's not, I was going to say it's a fighting chance, it's a chance, but it's not a chance, because it's not up to chance. This isn't a roll of a die. This is life, and life only exists here. So I implore people, I implore whoever watches this, to try to access this more, to try to bring yourself back to the present moment, because it's always there. It's never left you, and it will never leave you, because that's who you are. Because you're a connection in this great web. You're not separate from nature, you're not separate from the web. And when you realize that, that's when you can be free.